And now, your official TigerBait live show with Mike Scarborough and Buddy Songy starts now.
All right, everybody, welcome in. Big edition of TigerBait Live tonight. You're going to get Buddy Songy's take on that debacle in Oxford's last weekend, 3-4 days late. We're going to talk about the Garrett Nussmeier situation, and I've been following this story, and I think the LSU fan base and the media would like the easiest explanation as to why Garrett Nussmeier is performing the way he is. And I don't necessarily believe that the easy explanation is the reason why. I think Brian Kelly, between his teleconference this morning and the press conference that just ended 20 minutes ago, he's given you some signs as to what I think is truly going on. And I can tell you right now, he is not hurt. Of course, we're brought to you by our title sponsor, Pride Roofing, and many of our other sponsors, and we're going to talk about each of those. But if you're enjoying the show throughout the show as you watch us, please hit the like button. Please share it out. We're going to be here for a solid hour. And welcome in, buddy.
Good to see you. You know, Mike hates it when I wear sunglasses on this show, but we have a history when LSU stinks it up and loses a game, for the first one especially, we wear the sunglasses. So I'll go ahead and take them off and show my ugly face. But look, everybody, let's take a deep breath and relax. But the reality of it, Mike, is that LSU laid an egg from a coaching standpoint, from a playing standpoint, and from a preparation standpoint. And, you know, now we're starting to hear from the Notre Dame people. Well, we saw this every time there was a big game. He laid an egg. We hear you. Worry about South Bend. Worry about that crappy weather, the ugly women, and not changing the clock, okay? We know all the details of South Bend. Your 2 losses already, so STFU, Notre Dame. But here's the problem, Mike. You go in there and you asked a couple of questions during the year. Now, BK, in case you did not hear this on the teleconference, Cobble asked him about, what do you want to work on? And he said, we need to work on the passing game. Mike and I sat here and talked about this. Mike specifically asked him the question, how do you get away from doing what you do best and have some semblance of a balanced run game? They ran the football twice in the first half with the running backs, twice. Every time Xavier Thomas comes in motion, about 90% of the time, what are they going to do? They're going to run the football. 90% of the time when they're in the pistol, what are they going to do? They're going to run the football. So BK has a tendency. You know how you're at the house and you're watching something and your wife comes over and she takes the remote control away from you? That's what BK has a tendency to do. You saw a different game plan from week 1 to week 2 and 3. Back to all of that, to put it in a nutshell, very disappointed in Blake Baker. That's not LSU defense. He's blitzing. He's aggressive. Folks, you've got 11 sacks in 5 games. Harold Perkins has 2 tackles for losses and 1 sack. And he didn't have a chance to make any plays because they got him covering. I still don't know if Blake Baker can defend a quarterback run. And now you have a problem which you're going to dive into. But the point I'm trying to make is that when we were out there, and oh, by the way, you can beat up all those practice reports you want. We don't give a damn. But we were out there 13 hours, and we saw more than ever before. And this team has more talent at wide receivers. And I understand you have to have some semblance of a run game. But have we seen the little back to the backfield, a little flare? Have we seen the jailbreak? Have we seen the slants? Have we seen Bauer Sharp, who you said this is your favorite player, and you think they've utilized Bauer Sharp to he's got to have the screaming red ass. Barry Brown's got to have the screaming red.
The thing about Bauer Sharp is, how many passes has Nussmeier thrown at Bauer Sharp that have actually been on the money all season? 2?
But even if you want to chip,
Aaron Anderson's hurt because of Garrett Nussmeier.
I know, but even if you want to let him chip and then leak him out the backfield for a little dump. They're not doing all of this stuff. And so BK's had a propensity to have an archaic offensive game plan. And I will say this, folks, that 2-point play summed it up. That was the most embarrassing 2-point play call I've ever seen. It was a microcosm. And then 2 big plays I thought had a direct impact on the game. LSU's winning 7-3 going down the field. And here we go again as Nuss has that WTF INT. He does it every time.
Yep.
3 interceptions. What am I thinking? Took the momentum right away.
You were hurting yourself. That was making some noise.
No, I've got a hard head. You ought to know that by now.
Yeah.
I can play hurt.
Yeah.
I can get physical.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, I've watched Alabama and Georgia. Tiger fans, it ain't there. The physicality, the skill,
Texas A&M,
the play calling, the utilization of talent. I'm not telling you I have any crystal ball and know what they're going to do, but I see Georgia look different in their uniform. I see A&M look different. I see Alabama look different. Look how much Alabama's improved from the Florida State game to what LSU's done from the Clemson game. So in a nutshell, I don't think they've done a good job of utilizing their offensive talent. I do think they need to continue to throw because the offensive line can hardly walk, much less push anybody around. But now you have a problem that we did not anticipate. And so for that, I'm going to hand the ball off to Mike Scarborough and let him get into some others. But, hey, everybody, glad to be here. Take a deep breath. Don't disrespect your wife, your kids, or your dog or whatever. It's not that important, but I understand why you're pissed off.
I'm going to go. I don't know if this is a rant, but and Dane Bergeron tees it up with a super chat, and it's going to lead into what I have to say. He says, good evening, guys. I said on the site that Nuss's issues are between his ears, and he is soft, opposite of Burrow, and that he does not like contact. Dane, I think everything that you said there is on the money. And he hasn't been hurt for weeks. I'm sorry, everybody. I wish BK wouldn't have thrown that out there on the Feinbaum show 3 weeks ago, but he did. And and because he did that, it's been the easiest explanation as to why he has looked the way he has. But I can tell you this. What did we talk about all spring and all summer? We were talking about Joe Burrow making the big jump from his junior year to his senior year. We talked about Jaden Daniels doing the same thing. But what's the difference? What did those 2 guys do in the offseason? They worked their tails off. They worked in the conditioning, the weight room. They're not looking around to see if a coach is watching them, and then they'll exert themselves in conditioning drills. They, with their own money, flew across the country to visit with a quarterback guru, whether it was Tom House or Jordan Palmer or others in that same ilk.
Jaden brought the wide receivers to California his last year.
Yes.
In the summer.
Okay. We knew about what do they call it that summer of 19, the 10,000 balls of summer. We saw video of tennis balls being shot at them at 80 miles an hour through doorways and them catching tennis balls. We didn't see any of that this summer. And so I can just tell you this. Had he been hurt and he had an abdomen pull or tear or an oblique pull or tear, he would not have played against Southeastern. You don't do that to a guy that coming into the season has a first-round draft pick grade. You certainly don't do it. You certainly don't do it when you're involved in a lawsuit with a former player because he had a medical concern and he's trying and we know what happened there. Okay. If he was unable to go, if he wasn't 100%, you would absolutely sit him then. Okay. He was 100%. He's been 100%. And I'm going to play for you right now. Reed Darcy asked the question, and just a little clip here from about 30, 40 minutes ago.
Not to belabor the point on Nuss, but did he aggravate that ab strain at any point before or during the game against Ole Miss?
No.
Maybe?
No. I think I know what you're going to say, but
There you have it. What did he say on his teleconference this morning? This week is a mental preparation. He talked about the VR and doing that kind of work. All the work that you needed to get done in the offseason that didn't get done, particularly when you got Barry and Brown, Nick Anderson, Bauer Sharp, a new center. Did you do all the work that those previous Heisman Trophy winners did between their junior and senior years? I don't know what the total answer is. I don't know if he did 30% of it. I got a pretty good idea. And I'll say this, I don't think he came anywhere close to the offseason work that those other two quarterbacks did.
Well, look, it's not just Nuss, though. I understand what you're saying, and I understand you wanted to get that out.
But and look, it's not on him, all on him. There's more components to why they're ailing on offense. But that would be the easiest. If he was absolutely hurt, that would make all the sense in the world. But are you in a situation now where you've got a general manager saying, man, we're giving this guy $2 million a year? And by the way, since he's getting $2 million a year, this isn't the old days where we tiptoe around college players because they're student athletes. These are pros now. They've got commercials all over your TV, all over our YouTube channel. They've got billboards all over town, et cetera, et cetera. They're pros. You talk about them the same way as you do any New Orleans Saints football player, and it ain't good.
Hey, and I want to give you credit again. You know, we're giving Mike a lot of credit here, but let me tell you how cutting edge Mike Scarborough is. You guys remember that day when he was talking about Nussmeier's balls? I had no idea, but he was going to say those balls are going to be 5 yards short on the deep ball. This is a question I have for you.
But that's decision, buddy.
No, but his arm strength, Mike.
No, but there are balls during that game Saturday where he had velocity on him too much.
But he's not. Look, the mechanics are horrible. I mentioned this,
and that happens, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
I can pull up a video clip of Peyton Manning as a pro going back to visit David Cutcliffe because his mechanics were way off.
Look,
it's just like being a golfer.
The great quarterbacks watch film of just their feet. And so we're talking about a lot of things, but all I can tell you is this. LSU beat Ole Miss last year, and one of the reasons that he threw an incredible strike, you saw it from the end zone, even before Aaron Anderson made his cut. He makes the cut, he turns the ball's there, you go into overtime, then he throws a bullet back shoulder to Kyron Lacey, the late Kyron Lacey. And so he's not throwing the deep ball. Chris Hilton's still not on the same page.
He's not on the page with him because the work wasn't done.
And now, you know, I get on this rant every week.
And the offensive line doesn't protect as well as you would like. I mean, look.
But he doesn't have this capability, see? That's the problem with the offensive line. Joe Burrow and Daniels had feet to get out of that problem, and they both made those offensive lines appreciably better, and I think you'd agree with that.
And I'm going to say one more thing. And, of course, we look.
But he knew about Nussmeier's balls in the summer, folks.
Yeah, BK said that Van Buren is getting the reps with the ones this week. And so, but I'll say this. I don't know that Van Buren's the answer. I mean, there was a little bit of flashes against Southeastern, an FCS school. But it's not like a pitcher that's thrown 90 pitches and you pull him out and you put in somebody who falters and you can't put that pitcher back in. You put Van Buren in. If he doesn't spark the football team, then you put Nussmeier in. Is he that soft and that mentally not ready to go or that mentally tough to be able to handle being pulled and put back in? I'm sorry. And what that really tells me is that if you don't have, if the way that offense was running under Garrett Nussmeier, that you don't have any confidence in Michael Van Buren to possibly spark that team with his legs, which really could have been the difference on Saturday if Van Buren had come in with his legs and start making things happen.
Look, ball players.
We saw Marcel Reed do the same thing in the opposite effect last year.
I was just going to say, ball players have to make plays. but coaches have to put them in the best situation to make plays. I'll just go on my 30-second rant. Trades Green is 6'7", 245 pounds, a former basketball player that knows how to use his body to shade somebody. And they have gotten 17 freaking yards from him. Winning touchdown against Clemson. They went to him Saturday. It's a ricochet off of him on a bad pass. Nick Anderson comes in, does a great job, catches it, replay, touchdown. They didn't go to Nick Anderson again until the second half. He had like 2 or 3 targets. Barry Brown's got to be pissed off. He got money to come here. They're not giving him any kind of NFL, what can he do? They haven't utilized him. Hadn't used Bauer Sharp, all that. And so what we're saying is that it's a combination. Mike's all over the players. I'm all over the coaches. And whatever they did with that game plan.
It's enough to go around for everybody.
Well, there is, but
this
game
Nussmeier thing is out of hand.
The game plan for Ole Miss was atrocious. Everybody in the league is laughing at them on an offensive. Can you imagine what the offensive coaches in the league are saying? But here's the great thing about it. And I just saw Peter Burns. Did you see Peter Burns in his rant? Mm-hmm. He said, Tiger fans, you're 4-1. They're going to make it to the playoffs if they do this, if they handle it just like Alabama handled their loss to Florida State the first weekend. The problem is that BK has had a propensity. You know what the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I'm going to say it. You had your say about Nussmeier. I'm going to say my thing about Coach Kelly, who I have respect for. I enjoy asking him questions. I enjoy when I'm making it over there. I asked him about the identity of the offense 3 weeks ago. The identity of the offense. It's still not established. You don't have a go-to guy. You don't have a go-to play. You don't have, like, it's
Aaron Anderson is the go-to play.
But how many touchdowns has he scored this year, Mike?
Hang him out the drop.
Zero. So there's a lot to rant and rate on. We started our piece. We want to hear from you guys. Give us a little input. Do you want to see MVP play a little bit? And secondly, do you think this team, if they're given the opportunity, now you've got 10 nights from tonight, but the game plan, Mike, I just don't know if BK can get over the hump. He's got a history. Joe Sloan's calling the plays, but BK's got his hand right there. I'm seeing archaic football. You talk about the old days.
I've had deja vu so much when breaking down and talking about these things and the relationship between offensive coordinator and head coach, a head coach that has his offensive system, and no matter what offensive coordinator is underneath him at whatever stop in whatever year, they all have to run his system. Well, that's how Les Miles was. He ran that old Dallas Cowboys offense, and Cam Cameron had to run it. And they had every coordinator from Gary Croton on, Jimbo Fisher, etc., Cam Cameron, you name it. They all had to submit their game plans on Thursday night. And when they get back to work on Friday, Les Miles would have gone through with a red marker and changed it all up and pulled out a bunch of stuff and did what he did. And that's why he was no longer the coach in 2017. Is that right? 2017 or 18? What was the year? Yeah, whatever it is.
4 games in 18, I think. Yeah.
And so there's some things that are just like, man, we've talked like this before. This reminds me of this before, and it's multiple years of Les Miles. And it's again, it's 2 step forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 2 step back. Never having it all together. Never having. I mean, personnel wise, and when you looked at it, we knew the offensive line was going to be the question mark.
We chronicled that. They couldn't block the D line.
But when you got the tight ends and the wide receivers, and of course you're injured at running back, you're a running back down. I was told today that JT Lindsey is cooked, that he'll never be a part of the program. Yeah. After hearing a month or two ago, probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, that he was just days away from being cleared. Now I'm told he's out. Yeah. And so LSU's going to need to get 2 running backs in the portal and a couple of running backs signed for 26. But
I'll finish my statement. Brian Kelly will never win an SEC championship or a national championship until he hands the keys off to somebody who's younger, smarter.
He won't do it.
I'm just saying.
It's less
Nick Saban Let me tell you what Nick Saban did. Everybody in here that's been around when Nick
if
Saban
he cut
came
Sloan
in,
loose, you got to go give a guy a 3-year guaranteed deal at $2 million a year.
but if you
And if you go 8-4 next year, you're going to make a move on BK and have to buy that out as well. I mean, let's start running the math on all this, people.
I barbecued some Manda sausage this afternoon and brought it over to Mike. I wanted to do the green onion, but I did the spicy. And look,
That's the end of Orgeron. Same thing. Going having to buy coordinators to make it go.
Yeah.
And having to pay them buyouts.
But the game has passed Brian Kelly from his version of offense. It's passed him by. It's passed him by. Everybody knows he wants to go. When I asked about that identity, I called up a couple of people. I said, this is not good. I wanted to hear him say something like, we're going to sling it. We're going to run it. We're going to be creative. We're going to trick you. I mean, do they not eat anything but vanilla ice cream all week long and coming up with that Ole Miss game plan? That was absolutely pathetic. And so we're just voicing frustration. But when I watch Georgia and Alabama, I watch Tennessee, I watch A&M, I watch Vandy, I see better football teams. I see better prepared teams. I see better teams utilizing that talent. LSU could be competitive if they utilize that talent. They have done a double P job, and poor is the second P.
I feel for Austin Thomas. He did an unbelievable, admirable, fantastic job, earned his pay, spent that money wisely, a bunch of home runs and triples. You're going to lose all of them. They all are one and done. You got to do it again. And now you got to top that one. We put up a poll on TigerBait yesterday morning. It looks like the highest percentage of fans believe this team's going 8-4. And probably a higher percentage think they're going 7-5 versus 9-3. So, look, I don't think the offense has to make a complete 180 during this open date, but they've got to come up several notches. I think the defense can keep you in games and give you a fighting chance. But this offense, what do you need? If you just get 30% improvement, can you salvage a season? I mean, do you need 70% improvement? I mean, what is the number, buddy? I mean,
I'm just going to give you some stats so far with 5 games, folks. LSU's averaging 27 points a game. They're giving up 12. They're running it for 105 a game, in the hundreds once again with the run game. Passing it for 259 a game. Nuss doesn't have nearly that much yardage because Van Buren's been 10 for 12, looked good. 364 yards total on offense a game. The opposition is getting 293. They've had 7 takeaways on INTs. Fumble recovery, when A.J. Halsey forced a fumble and got the touchback, that's the first fumble recovery they've had. So they've got 8 takeaways. They've had 3 INTs, 2 fumbles lost, 8 takeaways, 5 giveaways. They're a +3 on the turnover ratio. Third down, once again, was bad, 42% for the year, but terrible in this league. And look, like I said, I'm not trying to fire anybody. I just don't know from a strength and conditioning. And you've got to have guys that are big.
Garrett Nussmeier looks like he hadn't lifted a weight in years.
Well,
I mean, quarterbacks are not expected to be bulky and look like linebackers. But I know what Joe Burrow looks like in the offseason. They do some things.
But I'm talking about the line of scrimmage.
I mean, his legs look smaller than Hodgson's.
I'm talking about the line of scrimmage. Tell me if you think LSU's got a snot knocker.
Okay, let me do this real quick. We're 25 minutes in, and we hadn't done a single sponsor. Dane Bergeron with another super chat. Mike, I was at the game and had bad memories of January 9th, 12, when the head coach could not make a change at quarterback when the starter was struggling. Not being able to run against a 3-man front is beyond embarrassing. And it's been like that for years.
No, but they've had struggle with all the 3-man fronts this year.
Brian Kelly is in year 4, and he's never had an offensive line that can run the football. Now, I know Cole Kublik and those guys want to say, well, it's because LSU never tries to run the ball. They abandon the run too soon. And that's why I asked that question back in August. With all the weapons you've got on offense and wanting to spread the wealth and get everybody the ball, as soon as you hit some, rough sledding trying to run the football, do you have to resist the temptation to go away from it? Dane, thank you so much for that super chat. I need to talk about our folks over at Pride Roofing, our title sponsor. And let's hear from Mike and Alex.
Hi, I'm Michael with Pride Roofing.
I'm Little Alex.
Have you been affected by wind, hail, and tornadoes on the North Shore? Well, we're here to help.
Insurance claim, no problem.
We also have a new franchise location in New Orleans.
We don't build projects, we build memories.
Though you know Pride Roofing is the official roofer of TigerBait.com.
In fact, notify TigerBait and we'll give you a free roof inspection. And on top of that, you get a free year subscription. Remember to call us at 855-PRIDE-16.
All right, 855-PRIDE-16. Give them a call. Say TigerBait. And with your free roof inspection, you get TigerBait free for a year. That's a $99 value. And again, if you've got any competing companies bid on their letterhead, they'll beat it by $150. You cannot beat that. Of course, big in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, main office in Hammond, and Southeast Louisiana is absolutely covered like a blanket with our friends over at Pride Roofing. And need to talk about our friends over at Stroube's. It's the steakhouse in Baton Rouge, located at 107 3rd Street, downtown Baton Rouge. They pride themselves on providing a 5-star dining experience at a reasonable price. USDA prime black Angus steaks, 100% certified Wagyu New York strip, and they've got a full seafood menu. The black truffle lobster pasta, redfish, duck Louisiana, and much more. A super great dessert menu. Book your reservation online tonight at Stroube's.com. And please let them know that TigerBait sent you in. And here it is, Genesis of Lafayette, 2.99 APR for 60 months on the GV80. You cannot beat that. And, of course, Genesis of Lafayette, the premier luxury dealership with the finest cars and SUVs in the region, coupled with the best service anywhere. GenesisofLafayette.com. Go there and check it out to see their inventory. Or call them at 877-856-2961. Again, they're located at 6600 Johnson Street in Lafayette. There's a reason why they sell more Genesis vehicles than any other Genesis dealer in the state of Louisiana. Great prices, great service. They'll grow 5 states over to find the right color combination of the one you want. They'll deliver it to your driveway. A lot of LSU fans across the state of Louisiana and even East Texas through our show have dealt with Genesis of Lafayette. Believe me, they will make it worth the trip, and you'll be glad that you did if you're looking for a GV70 or a GV80. All right.
1-855-PRIDE-16 title sponsor. Once again, don't forget Mike and Alex do a fantastic job in Baton Rouge, Hammond, throughout the state, and always a free roofing inspection. Call them 1-855-PRIDE-16. Stroube's, you can't beat them. Always call the hostess for parking and reservations. And, of course, as you just talked about, your wife almost loves that Genesis as much as she loves you.
Yep. August Go Tigers with a super that. Thank you, August. He says, love the show a lot, guys. First time chiming in. Thank you, Mike. Yes. Put Michael Van Buren in at halftime to spark the team and spook Ole Miss. If it doesn't work, bring Nuss back. Exactly. I don't know. I don't know why these quarterbacks are immune from that. If Van Buren didn't make anything happen, put Nussmeier back in. It's almost like it's some taboo thing, or you're going to break a guy down and he's going to need a psych eval in 2 weeks in a facility. These quarterbacks are so soft.
No, but now you just hit me with a great point. Take him out after the WTF INT. And you tell him, say, we talked about this. You did it again. But hold on.
What about the
Van Buren's going in next series. Now you go wait and you figure out what you just did. Oh, by the way, love the Weeks brothers. Wes, this is your 5th time with an unsportsmanlike conduct in his career. I've seen him have it at LSU on the road. That was a meathead decision. They took him out for 1 series. 2 series later, he's back on the field. You've got to punish people. The most important thing you have as a coach is playing time. And when you F up, when you screw up, that 15-yard late was that gave them and they had 2 or 3 other penalties. LSU's got a coach with a higher IQ and play with a higher IQ. But, Mike, that would have been a perfect time to sit in us and say, we're tired of you having these senseless interceptions that took all the momentum away in the first half, and West took all the momentum of the defense away. You can't afford to have that kind of play and then get those guys right back out there. You got to punish them. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You just have to.
August, thank you so much for that. Jared Guillory, Mike, I agree on Nuss, but his throw to Hilton missed a touchdown. Looked like his arm isn't the same. He's horrible at long balls, but normally he would have overthrown Hilton by 5 yards, not overthrown. I mean, look, all through fall camp, they talked about pulling back so he didn't have camp arm. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what more they can do. They count all that. They know how many tosses and balls he throws.
Well, we saw, though, when the patella tendon, remember, he came out with the knee, and that was on a Wednesday. We didn't have practice availability.
I just think all this is because he's not on the same page.
Yeah.
He's not on the same page with his receivers.
Yeah.
One ball with the velocity he threw on one play was the right ball velocity he should have thrown for another one. Some balls require air underneath them. You throw a ball to Trey Green different than you do to Xavier Thomas. You throw a ball in the back of the end zone. You throw a post pattern different than you throw a flag route.
Which is why we talked about it, Mike, and they did it in the first game. Nuss is better off when you're throwing the football and getting rid of it quicker. The longer he holds on to it, the worse the play gets. He doesn't have escapability. Oh, by the way, there were 3 times that he checked down, 3rd and 7, 3rd and long, and he threw the ball to dump off 3 yards down the field.
And by the way,
got to help him with play calling.
When he talks about this is a mental week, this is a VR week, and this kind of stuff, believe me, if Nussmeier had camp arm and with the info I'm getting from my sources, they would lean into the injury excuse like nobody's business, because then it would explain everything. It would let them all off the hook. You wouldn't have everybody claiming that Brad Davis is absolutely fired at the end of the year. Joe Sloan's got to go, blah, blah, blah. Fire the whole offense except Cortez Hankton. Frank Wilson's getting scrutiny. But if Nussmeier is truly injured, I mean, he would say it. It would explain everything.
I tell you, it's a mess right now. It's a hot mess. We're not overreacting, but if you watch a lot of college football, LSU has not gotten better in the last 4 weeks, and you've got a gauntlet of the schedule. Carolina, in case you don't know, 10 nights from tonight, 6 o'clock, they'll determine the network next week or on Sunday. Then you travel to Vandy. That is either an 11 o'clock or a 12 o'clock game. Vandy's damn good this year. They have taken care of business. They travel to Alabama this week. And then Texas A&M, look, Mike Elko, good, solid coach. Tommy Moffitt, I thought Tommy was stale over here and needed to probably go and needed to go. But you got to admit.
Change of venue. And
they're playing.
And don't forget, he went through cancer and scare and chemo and did that for a while. He's hit his second stride.
Well, but I'm just saying, they're more physical. If you watch games on Saturday, how many times do you sit here and talking to your loved one, your friends, whoever you chat with? LSU's physical. They're not.
Don't think he wasn't motivated by the way he was shown the door here as well, and extra motivated to prove that he's not old and washed up. Travis Wilburn with a super chat. Thank you. Buddy is absolutely right to sit people. Dane Bergeron, stop cuddling Nuss.
Casper, by the way, Casper, you never responded to my email. I've got that T-shirt, which is now a collector's item.
Ask Mike, does Nuss even wear the virtual practice glasses? That's a good question.
Virtual reality, folks, and all of the LSU was on the cutting edge.
I'll say this
when they started using
I'll say this with pretty darn good certainty that Nussmeier didn't use that, hasn't used that 10% of what Jaden Daniels did in the offseason. I'll just leave it at that. Lou Yenny, here's the biggest and most important question. BK will never win an SEC championship, national championship, forget it. Who are the boosters we need to pay off this charlatan and fire him? Look, it's easy to say that a coach isn't going to win a national championship. Do you know how difficult that is? I get that the last 3 coaches have done it. I get it.
But it's different now. Well, we gotta throw in that caveat.
That's easy.
It's different with NIL and the transfer portal.
You can put that label on some very strong football coaches across the country that they'll never win a national championship. That don't mean they're donkeys.
Well, wait. So he's saying fire BK?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what that's going to cost you? 160 to 170 million. You've got to pay off BK, which he's got 6 years left, so that's about 60. You've got to pay off his staff, which is another 10 or 15. And then you got to allocate another 100 million because that's what a coach costs. Now, you don't have to pay it all up front. Usually when you fire a coach, he gets X amount of dollars in a determined date. But LSU doesn't have 160 or 170 million sitting around.
Okay. I think the highest odds are 8-4. You spent 20 million. If you end up 8-4, you spent 20 million to go 8-4. With next year's 9 games SEC slate not scheduled, you have to spend 30 million to go 8-4.
Well, guess what? There's one other little caveat
Not
to
to
throw
say
in.
nothing about if you throw Sloan and the whole offense under the bus and you sign all new deals. No offensive coordinator worth his salt's going to come here for less than a 3-year guaranteed deal. And if he's a name that's going to get everybody excited to get the pressure off in a spicy offseason, as you would say it, he's got to be a name guy. He's
And there's one other
he's going to be
problem.
a $2 million guy.
One other problem. There's only one portal next year.
Yeah, so you better get it right.
Look, folks, we said that you'd be drinking and enjoying it. You did enjoy it. Now everybody is overreacting, but I think what we're doing is we're looking at the reality.
How many of those boosters, big money people that gave the 20 million, if you get them on the phone and say, man, the way you this went about, I don't know that I'm in for that kind of money again.
Well, that's the problem when you're competing against Texas and Texas A&M and Georgia and Florida and Miami and USC and Alabama and everybody else. They have more boosters who are willing. Look at Kalen DeBoer. You remember what was going on after that first week? Big Ears Feinbaum was saying, "Oh, he's going to get fired" and all that. Bottom line is that they have fixed their problems. Georgia just lost. Georgia has an incredible record in the SEC, but Kirby can't beat Alabama. They will be back. Texas A&M, are they going to grab the throat? Probably. They're going to come in here knowing that they beat LSU last year. Vandy, Clark Lee's got them on a high note right now. And then, of course, the problem with the Carolina game is that Sellers is going to be healthy, and you're going to have to tackle him, and they didn't do that last year. And so we're not trying to say we know what's going to happen.
You talking about that, Norman?
What?
You talking about that, Oklahoma?
We hadn't even got to Oklahoma or Alabama. But what we're saying to you tonight is this. If LSU does not change philosophy, game plans, and execution of the game plan, they're going to be losing 3 or 4 more ball games. You can't play like that and coach like that and beat good teams in the SEC. You just can't.
Travis Wilburn with a super chat. Thank you, Travis. Sloan's play calling has not been great, but there have been plays that weren't executed right by the offensive line, and especially Nuss. Yeah, Travis, thanks so much for that. Dykes Electric, everybody, the official electrical company of TigerBait.com. And so now, no matter how big or small your electrical needs might be, Dykes is wired for success. If you need a brand new 10-story office building, they can wire that. A 200,000 square foot warehouse that you need built, they can wire that. Expanding your existing commercial building, changing out a breaker, a whole electrical panel, just a receptacle, upgrading the old lighting in your home or office, they can wire all of that. Give them a call today at the number on your screen, 225-216-9180 for a free estimate on your project. Please let them know TigerBait sent you in. Great locally owned Baton Rouge company, Dykes Electrical, and huge LSU fans, and we appreciate them being sponsors of all of our live shows at TigerBait.com. And Alumni Hall, that's the place you need to go to get all of your LSU gear. And where are we at? There's your national championship gear. Where's the polos? There it is. Chris, I can't find the right ad. There's one. That's a good one. Alumni Hall, everybody. You know the great store in Perkins Row. Best place to get all your officially licensed LSU gear. And hopefully we're going to get a little bit cooler weather. I know it's getting a little 60s at night, and I don't think we're far away from quarter zip pullover and hoodie weather. And they've got all the great stuff, the Nike gear, Champion, Peter Millar, and much more. Shop their store in Perkins Row or anytime online at alumnihall.com. Use the code TigerBait, all one word, in store or online, and you're going to get 10% off your purchase every time you shop. That code's been good for years, and our relationship with Alumni Hall is going to be good for years to come. It's not just a one-time code. You can use it every single time. And, again, free shipping on all orders over $99. The folks over at Alumni Hall are absolutely fantastic, and they give back to LSU. They're big in the NIL space, and they constantly bring athletes in for signings and so forth. And so shop with our friends over at Alumni Hall. Kenny Haynes with a super chat. Of course, Kenny sponsors our post-game show. He says, Mike, get used to something. All but 12 teams will be paying $20 million to players for mixed results. It's a new world. It's professional football without the NFL money. I think you're right. I think there's a lot of validity to that.
Well, no, that's why I was pointing out, Mike, about you just can't walk in and say, BK, you're gone. It is just too much money. If you had a Texas oil guy or an A&M or somebody else that had that kind of money, I don't know LSU's got those kind of boosters. Do you? You think they could come up with 160 million, 170 million? I don't.
Well, you're not putting that the next guy up front. You don't have to have that money up on day one, but you have to have a plan. When you buy out a coach, you're paying them over those years that's remaining. It's all not what lump sum, but I don't know that you're going out and doing what they did the last time. You know, is Scott Woodward even the guy that would make the hire?
Well, that was just getting ready to say, is Woody going to be the guy that, look, Woody's done some great things. He brought in Kim Mulkey, won a natty, brought in Jay Johnson, won 2 natties, but Woody also gave with A&M, Jimbo Fisher, $75 million, and he gave Brian Kelly $100 million. Actually, it's $9.5 a year. You've got some incentives that kick him to 10. You do this or this, it's easy to achieve, and you get another $500,000. So he's basically making 10. But no, I'm not talking about the outlay of cash all up front. I'm just saying that it's not as easy as saying, and you do have to give the man. I think, just me talking here, you give him the rest of the year, and next year, as we've talked about, now you got a new quarterback. Look at your 3 edge rushers that you're losing: Pyburn, Jamari Butler, and Patrick Payton. You're losing Bernard Gooden. That's 4 D linemen right there. You're losing Monsieur Delane. You're losing A.J. Halsey. That's 6 right there.
My point
you're
is,
losing Bower Sharp, Josh Thompson. I mean, you're losing.
My point is, if you go, without knowing what year Frank Wilson is in his, and all those buyouts. I mean, but let's say it really went off the rails. You went 7-5, and you've got to replace an offensive coordinator, and that's a brand new guaranteed deal. It's a $10 million difference for BK, but what is the difference on top of that? Is prolonging it a year, looking at next year's schedule and knowing what all that you've got to rebuild, I don't know. Is BK's hard in it if he doesn't make a run this year? I always ask the question, over a 5-year period at LSU, how many years in 5 years do you expect is it right for fans to expect to be a playoff team? Is it 2 out of 5? Is it 3 out of 5? I mean, what is the answer?
Well, it was this year for sure. This was playoffs a bust, and it looks like it's going to be Dolly Parton. Looks like it's going to be a big bust.
Yep.
Now, how you change the people mentality. Here's the other thing too, Mike, to bring in. What's that crowd going to be like? You're playing at night. Everybody's still pissed off right now. I think we all can tell, all of the shows, the inflection, everybody. Even BK said on Feinbaum, at least he has that realization. Everybody's angry in town, Paul. I'm having to shop at 1 o'clock in the morning. Not that he does any shopping, but what is that crowd going to be like if it's 17-3 Carolina at halftime? You hear boo birds and you hear departures. And so this game, is make it or break it for the fan base. If you lose at home, and he's only lost at home one time at night, Tennessee skull drug him. He's lost 2 times in his career at LSU in Tiger Stadium, one at night, one in the daytime. But you've got to go in there and reestablish some confidence, for your football team, but very importantly, for your fan base as well.
Ryan and Amanda Guidry, I would like to give them 2 more. We will see. And look, that's also an argument that a lot of athletic directors will say in this day and age with high dollar coaches that a lot of them don't want to go down that road anymore. And there might be more willing to stick with a coach longer than normal because the money that you would spend there is better off being spent on players.
Well, 5 years is plenty of time. I mean, if he doesn't, and here's what we're trying to point out tonight is that we thought that they had finally put themselves in a situation to where, from a personnel standpoint, they were going to line up and play with everybody. And unfortunately, unless there's a big time turnaround, I am still going crazy on the little things. We talk about tackling and we talk about pad level. Mike, did you see the number of times that Ole Miss ran forward? Now, look, we know Trinidad Chambliss is a very tough quarterback to defend, but there was a play in the second half that was a microcosm of the defense on the game. Running back hits the hole, picks up the first down, and their offensive lineman will him for another 7 or 8 yards. And everybody is tackling up high. How many times do you have to be told you've got to get low and you've got to use the legs? I'm going to beat my legs up now. You've got to use the legs and explode and stop them instead of letting them run downhill. It was not a bad start. Got to lead. I was worried that Ole Miss was going to jump on them. You're 7-0, 7-3. You throw the INT, momentum out the window. You get a little momentum with weeks with the meathead play. Those 2 big plays.
You're lucky they weren't down 24-7 at halftime.
Yeah.
Ron Schaefer, Kelly is doing a great job. Look at what he inherited. Ron, I'm sorry that I know the bleak number that he inherited, but that was so long ago. And
this is year 4, Ron.
Yeah, and there's been major snafus with not getting the hires right. Again, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 4 steps back. It's never all of it coming together at the same time. And I'm sorry, it's you had a couple of first-round draft picks, multiple draft picks on that offensive line last year, have not had a respectable running game at all. There's some good and there's some bad. I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm not going to say he's great.
I think he's a good, solid coach. I don't think you should ever use great with BK. He did get to the Natty and got skull drugged by Alabama. But once again, you think Notre Dame would want to play Ole Miss, Carolina, Vandy, and Texas A&M, Alabama, and Oklahoma.
And I'll stick up for him. I know I see a lot of comments. I've been seeing them for days now. They're just aggravated at his coach speaking pressers.
Yeah.
Whether it's with Feinbaum on Monday, teleconference earlier today, presser. Man, what do you expect him to do? He's not going to hammer a guy. I mean, I posted that reel earlier in the show where Reed Darcy asked the question about did he re-injure it, and he look between the look on his face when he answered that, the way he answered it, then when he tells you in the teleconference that it's more about mental this week and mentioned VR, he's trying to give you some hints. It's not hurt. He's not injured. That is baloney. And so, but he's not going to come out and say, my guy is we got to get him plugged in mentally, and he's not, he's hasn't made the big jump that we all thought he would make from. He's just not going to do it that way. And they all have their lines that they say. I laugh. Yeah, when Jimbo Fisher was struggling his last year, every press conference sounded the same. They use the same lines. It's what they do. It's all they can do. And unfortunately for him, when you lose a game like that, a pivotal game, and then you have an open date, you have to stew on it for several weeks. It's a sour taste that you can't get out of your mouth.
This spicy show brought to you by Man Defined Meats for flavor and spice. Really do say it all. By the way, folks, we are the official smoked sausage of LSU Athletics. Get all of those great products. Grill it up. It'll make you feel a little bit better. At least you can have your belly full. And had a lot of people, Mike, that went to Ole Miss. And as they were all leaving the stadium, and those Rebel fans hate LSU. I don't think you realize how much they hate LSU until you go to one of those ball games. And lo and behold, the comments were like, God, what the F were you guys doing being ranked 3 and 4? We don't see any talent. And so that's the biggest problem that I'm bitching about this week after 5 games. They are not getting the most out of the talent. Ball players have got to make plays. Coaches have got to put them in a better situation, and I don't think they've done that.
Yeah, American Patriot Super Chat. I'm sorry, but Paul Mabinga is not cutting it. Everybody getting after Weston Davis a whole lot. I talked to an offensive line coach this morning. He said, man, Weston Davis is taking his lumps, but you know who's really making Weston Davis look bad? Josh Thompson.
Well, speaking of that, in the portal, how many O-linemen would you go in the portal?
And, buddy, how many of these cases is it an NFL-type deal where the GM's saying, are you kidding me? You know how much we paid for that guy? You're playing him.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. Let's see Ben Bordelon.
No, I don't know.
I wonder, does Ben Bordelon just not have it? Let's see.
Well, look, what my point is that with the offensive line now, Weston Davis was a high 4-star, at one point a 5-star. Curious Kern was across the board a 5-star. Asked the coach about what his situation was because he didn't practice the week before the Clemson game. He got in. I thought he did a good job. I think Curious Kern gives you some physicality you need. I don't care if you play both of them. Curious Kern needs to be playing and learning this year, so he is a dog and a beast next year. But they got to go in the portal and get running backs. They got to go get some offensive linemen as well.
Patriot, thank you for that super chat, big time. All right. Need to talk about Baye's Oyster Bar, your new great oyster spot here in Baton Rouge, 315 North Boulevard. It's the old Jolie Pearl, but they sunk a ton of money in that building, and they put a lot of thought and care and expertise into that new menu. They've got the freshest farm-raised oysters from Grand Isle. No mud, no grit, just clean, delicious flavor. If you're not into oysters, they got the boiled shrimp, the turkey brie and bacon sandwich is my favorite. Classic roast beef po' boy that's got at least a pound of beef on it. Fully stocked bar, complete with top-notch bourbon, whiskey, and a massive craft beer selection. Don't miss out on Baton Rouge's newest oyster spot. Let them know TigerBait sent you in. Man, the oysters are so good there. Trust me, folks. If you love them, any way, any style you want, they've got them. Baye's Oyster Bar. Go to their website, Baye's Oyster Bar. Just Google it. You'll find it, and you'll see all the different combinations and varieties. The ways that you can get those oysters prepared. They're absolutely fantastic. Let's see here. Brad David, Mike, what do you think about Pittman getting fired? He would be a good offensive line coach somewhere.
Everybody says that, but you know what? He's not going to take a job at LSU. He's going to the house and relax, man. Yeah. How many millions does he get?
I don't know, but I don't, let's he's got a wife that spends him blind. I take him as a guy who's probably saved just about every.
No, I know, but I'm just saying he's going to probably sit back and relax a little bit.
A year or two.
It might be. But, and I'll ask you the question because Mike was the first one. We did it on this show. I think you were the first or second weekend. And you said, look, there's going to be scrutiny on Brad Davis. One of the guys said, Brad Davis, come on, man. You're overreacting. What's the odds? Give me the Vegas odds at Brad Davis. If the season continues to go down this way, 50-50?
If it's 8-4 and he's got to make changes. And it's not in this case, if the running game doesn't improve and the offensive line can't handle a three-man rush, it's not scapegoating anybody. It's legit. You got to replace him. He didn't get the job done.
And
you got Albert Simeon, the top offensive lineman in the state of Louisiana, leaning at the Texas A&M. But
that's early. He's 27, right?
Yeah, but
Alex Atkins did come in at Florida State. He helped with the run game. Obviously, he hadn't got much input. But my point is that, and I'm asking you, if this thing goes ugly, 8-4, whatever, you think he pretty much has to fire somebody to appease the fan base?
I think.
I do.
I think every offensive coach every offensive coach is on the clock.
Yeah, I just think that
now
they're going
we
to
could disagree on Frank Wilson, because of his recruiting. But look, man, what's the recruiting? I know you don't like it because Lane Kiffin said it, but you got one Louisiana player starting on defense. Is that really the case anymore?
Well, the reason I didn't really like it is because Jacoby and Gilry start. Gabriel Relaford was starting.
The running back rotation sucks. When has Frank Wilson had a great running back room from top to bottom?
Well, look, I've been saying it for 3 years. When I watch all these games, everybody's got 3 that are physical and take it to the house and all that. I know they're trying hard. They've got to get more running backs in here.
Yeah.
They've just got to. You got to have a guy that's got a threat.
It seems like the only coach on offense is the 2 of them. Atkins, who just got there, and Cortez Hankton. Those are the only 2 that seem to be immune from criticism right now. Travis, thank you for that. Benny, 58 comes in with a super chat. Nuss's interception was 100% an underthrown ball to Xavion on the same route that sent us to overtime last year. He also underthrew Chris Hilton on 2 touchdowns. Facts are facts. 2024 Nuss gets us to 41-24. Ole Miss was not good.
Well, we'll find out how good they're going to be. But the point of it is that you're not delivering the football like you have in the
Frank
past.
is an elite recruiter, says JTL. Is he? I mean, where's the profiling of your signees? You've got 2 kids from North Louisiana who run afoul of the law as soon as they arrive here.
I thought you were going to bitch about his running back rotation.
Well,
now you're talking about his recruiting.
That's part of it.
Hey, folks.
I mean, look, we've had people for years say Corey Raymond is the greatest thing since night baseball. Is Corey Raymond even coaching the cornerbacks? I think it's one of the analysts that's doing it right now.
Well, you know all of that stuff more so than me. I'm just telling everybody.
There's a whole lot of smoke and mirrors to protect the brand most of the time.
Just take a chill pill, take a deep breath, love your family. We know how important it is. You saw, I call them poo-poo balls. I love boudin balls, but these are poo-poo balls that we've been trying to dine on Saturday. And here's the question. And this is another thing I've heard from hundreds of people throughout the years. Don't sit there and say you're going to coach better. We got to do this. You got to do it. Don't talk about it. People are tired of hearing about talking about it. Do it.
Cody L makes me laugh with this one. Let's hire a few more analysts. It's good for optics and appeases the fan base. Yeah. Akeem Batiste, I'm going to disagree with you on this one. Caleb Jackson needs reps, and he definitely won't be back next year. He's a 230-pound battering ram that will be a pro. Akeem, I love Caleb. I've been covering him since the 11th grade or end of his 10th grade, whatever it was. I started and love him. But, man, it's every time he gets an opportunity, he flubs it. I mean, we talked about it on Buddy's show today. Had he caught that pass out in the flat,
he might have scored.
I mean,
he might have run over to somebody and scored. He had 15 yards of green grass.
And that juncture in the game when LSU needed a spark, that should have been it. And then he goes, I don't know.
Well, look, folks, I was asking Mike and other people all during the week, tell me somebody who played well Saturday afternoon in Oxford. And I got Grant Chadwick. I got Kyle Parker. Damian Ramos. And there might have been a couple of others. And so, look, we're not sitting here blaming 100% on the loss. Players have got to take some accountability.
By the way, I kept waiting for those defensive linemen to learn their lesson about over pursuit. I mean, they would just run past Chambliss every time. They just made it easy for it.
I didn't recognize that defense, okay? Blake Baker and this defense get after people. I thought that was a read and react and very vanilla defense. If they play the quarterback option and run pass option with all these guys coming up with the next 3 quarterbacks, Mike, Sellers is 6'3", 240. Pavia is only 200 pounds and under 6 foot, but he's a baller. And then we saw what happened with with the quarterback from A&M last year. You better get something down on paper and execute it. They've got to do a better job. I was very, very disappointed in their aggressive nature with the game plan on defense. I love me some Blake Baker, but that was not a great game plan.
You see that chicken and waffles on the screen? I had it Sunday morning, and it was fantastic over at Capital City Grill. I carved up and came home and took a Sunday nap. And there it is, 100 Lafayette Street, Capital City Grill. You know, you probably had a great lunch there. They always have club sandwiches and French dip and great burgers and always great fresh French fries, never frozen. But the Sunday brunch from 11 to 2 is a real focus. The wife had the eggs Benedict. I had the chicken and waffles with the Steen syrup. You know what's funny is I didn't like Steen syrup growing up from Abbeville. Now, as I'm older, I love it. But CapitalCityGrill.net, you can see the entire menu. And as like I always tell you, get the carrot cake to go. It's fantastic. All right, buddy. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just want to thank DIMCO, Dykes Electric member co-op. And one of the reasons I'm here on all these shows, they are trustworthy, they are communicative, and they do levelized billing. Thank the good Lord. We have not. Look, we're bitching about football and all this, but no, all kidding aside here, we've not had to watch the Weather Channel. But when we do have inclement weather, floods, hurricanes, tropical storms, go to the DIMCO Storm Watch. They will direct you with all of the best information. And once again, it was a little spicy tonight. People are frustrated. Nothing you and I can do, but we do appreciate all of you tuning in. Appreciate you being a part of the LSU fan base. John Brady said it many years ago. The best thing about LSU is the fans. The worst thing about LSU is the fans. And right now, I do not expect to see any coaches or coaches' wives shopping before midnight. But hang in there. You've got one game. What would you say? They've got to beat South Carolina to get the fan base back on. Because if they have a stinker, okay, they have a stinker in Tiger Stadium 10 nights from tonight.
All that does is stop the bleeding.
Well,
you got a lot of deep bruising.
Well, I know, but I'm saying you've got to win that Carolina game and get that fan base believing, because nobody's believing right now. Not a lot of, and yes, it's great that we have some people still supporting BK. We understand that's your prerogative, but they've got to coach it better, higher IQ, both playing and coaching. And you fans, as always, we couldn't do it without you.
Brad, I'm sorry, but I got it now. He gave us a super chat early, and somehow I missed it. He goes, Mike, after Clemson, you changed to 11-1. Are you now back to 9-3, or is 8-4 in play? Yeah, I joked Saturday night that I'd like to be able to change my preseason prediction after every game, but I'm in the 9-3, 8-4 camp now. Look, I would love for us to come back and we'll look at this show 6 weeks from now and say, geez, how we went off the deep end. And, man, we really how wrong were we, man? They really put it together, and that offense did improved by leaps and bounds. And by November, they were clicking on all cylinders. I mean, I hope we're able to do shows like that. But, I mean, we've just seen nothing from each week that leads us to believe that that they're going to get it right and do enough. Maybe if you get a 25% improvement with that defense, you can make a go of it and be right there at the end as a possible playoff team.
Well, the old school that I was taught, your daddy taught you, your mama taught you, all of us have been taught, life is 10% of what happens and 90% of how you deal with it. You want to feel sorry for yourself, and IDGAF, I don't give a flip. That's their prerogative. But now I'm surprised we didn't hear somebody message in. You need a players-only meeting. This is going to be interesting. Not only are the coaches under scrutiny, but you made a good point earlier, and I think that it's valid. When you're getting $450K, you're getting $1 million, you're getting $2 million, you're getting $200,000, whatever you're getting paid, you opens yourself up for a little bit more criticism. We know how important it is, and LSU, quite frankly, has not gotten better from week 1 to week 5, and now it's up to the players and coaches to change people's opinions.
Y'all, do me a favor. Go subscribe to TigerBait. We really want you as a premium subscriber. $1, you can try us out for a week. We have a monthly package, an annual package. Beyond that, always choose the annual. You basically get 2 or 3 months free with that. It's less expensive than going monthly. Javon Vital, we filmed him Friday night. Our Jake Nola, my second cousin, who is shooting great video for us. Go check that kid out. 6 touchdowns. I told Jake before the game the other night, I said he's going to have a Harlan Berry type night. How many ever points that team scores, he's going to be responsible for all of them. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And Cortez Hankton wants him as a wide receiver for the class of 27. And I'm basically giving you a prediction right now. He's going to be all an LSU commitment.
That's Dan's son?
Huh?
Dan's son or nephew?
Dan's son.
Hey, Nola to the Gola. We'll never forget Dan Nola. May he rest in peace. And Jake, you keep up the great work with the Nola tradition, man. They do it the right way. And speaking of Nola to the Gola, one of the things he had, Mike, was a knack to get in the end zone. And so you got to get Caden Durham back because his vision's been bad. You got to get Harlan Berry a little more opportunity, whether it's a flare, whether it's a dink, whether it is. And obviously, Jawan Johnson's got to get some opportunities. But it's interesting when he said this week they're going to work on the passing game. Michael Van Buren taking all the reps with the first team this week. Nuss trying to rehab. We'll be back, a week from today. And once again, trying to get you ready for the biggest game of the year, because I firmly believe, Mike, if they do lose to South Carolina, there's going to be some quit from some of the fan base. I don't know how the players are going to react. We don't know how they're going to react to the Ole Miss loss, but you better buckle up that chin strap on that helmet, because it's not great to live in Baton Rouge when you lay an egg and then you followed up with another egg or two.
Yep, absolutely. All of a sudden, you might see record crowds for fall baseball if they don't take care of South Carolina. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. Please go over to TigerBait.com and subscribe. We'd love to have you. I'm on the message board day and night answering your questions there. And if you're an LSU fan, I really think you'll enjoy our website. All right, everybody, good night. Of course, there's no post-game show, so we'll be back regular time next week. Good night.